Flying over this pristine pecan orchard, the view is simply stunning and serene. Walking through the actual rows, I can feel the history in the air and see the special care that it's taken to keep these trees thriving for more than a century.
Let me tell you about how they would plant these trees. They would take 5 pecans and bury them in the ground.
Okay.
And then they would take flat rocks and put them around the base of the trees.
This piece of magnificent Texas land belongs to the Millican family, and their story starts in this very spot. Way back in the 1800s, when a man named E.E. came from England and turned a vision into an industry. That man, E.E., was Winston Millican's great-great-grandfather. As far as I can see, is all family land.
That's right. And this is the original country house.
Oh my
where
goodness.
E.E. got his start. He had a greenhouse over to the side, along with his work shed.
And today, more than a century later, Winston and his family gave me a tour and told me the stories about how pecan growing became the family business.
This is a grafting knife.
The grafting knife.
It has a hook bill on it, and that's what we graft with. And we just take it and we
Ooh, that buddy's sharp.
cut the end off, cut down the side, just like a squirrel would do.
Sweet Millican family, I cannot thank you guys enough for having me out to your amazing pecan orchard today. And you guys are truly a family operation, right?
We are.
I've heard that it's been in the family for quite some time.
Yeah, I'm the 5th generation. And
5th generation?
these are the 6th generation.
Oh my goodness. So when you see your little girls out here playing, because clearly Allison is quite at home here in the orchard, does it bring back memories of when you were her age running around out here?
Oh yeah, we always had specific jobs that we had to do.
Oh really?
Like pick up sticks like she's doing.
Kristen, what was it like marrying into a real, family operation?
I think it's super special, honestly. I mean, I grew up from a family that they all came from Wisconsin area and then came to Texas. So I wasn't used to being on the same land that the family's been here for 5 generations. So it's just really special, to be a part of and see that.
Now, being on this same land for 5 generations, I know a lot of pecan trees are actually older. So like how old are the trees that we're standing around right now?
These were planted in 1880s.
What? The 1880s?
Yes.
And they're still producing?
They're still producing. They were irrigated with a bucket out of the river.
What?
So the great-grandfather had 4 kids and they would go get a bucket of water and carry it over and irrigate each tree individually.
You have to really take care of them because it's, they hit a peak time, just like we do as people, and then they have a tendency to decline. So it really does take a lot of care to make sure that they're nurtured and so that they can continue producing. Water's a big part of that. Pecan trees require lots of water.
Well, and in Texas, sometimes you don't always get a lot of water.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, so we're thankful that we have 2 rivers that come through San Saba. So the San Saba River and the Colorado River. And this property right here just happens to have both rivers. So we're very fortunate to have that access.
Those 2 rivers, combined with Winston's great-great-grandfather's ingenuity, were instrumental in creating what many say was the beginning of it all in the world of pecans.
Okay, now, when I came into town right before I got to y'all's farm, I did see a big sign that said San Saba is the pecan capital of the world.
It is.
And I have heard a rumor that this very farm may or may not have the mother tree.
Well, this was the original orchard, and at the base of the hill was his nursery stock.
Okay.
And he decided he would plant all these trees, and it turned out that every tree was different. And so he had 1,000 different varieties out here.
What?
And so in his nursery stock, that's where he would send them out to all of his customers from here all the way to England, because he was from England. And he would use that nursery stock to supply his customers.
Oh
Back then it was really just an experiment, there weren't pecan orchards yet, so he didn't really know what to expect. He didn't know that if you planted a pecan in the ground that it would come up as its own unique variety, and that's what happened. So
Oh my gosh, and so this is kind of like the original pecan orchard.
yeah, I think it's the oldest one.
Yeah.
Oh my word, are you kidding me? Okay, that's kind of like a big legacy to have.
Yes.
It is, it's pretty cool.
Is that something that you guys really like take to heart and are really proud of?
Well, we're definitely trying to pass it on to the girls. And we want them to be able to experience when they get older too. So it's something that we're trying to be sustainable, so we're able to pass it on to them.
What Winston was able to pass on to me is the fact that each and every tree here has a story.
Well, this particular tree right here, you can actually see the graft mark.
Okay.
So they actually planted this tree in the late 1800s, and it was just a little bitty sapling. And they took a branch like this, and they would cut a section of it off.
Okay.
And they actually joined them together, or grafted them together. And this is actually the new variety of tree, and this is the rootstock.
Oh, and you can definitely see right here where the tree kind of changes.
That's right.
Now, why do you graft?
Okay, so when you plant a pecan tree, if you plant a round nut,
Okay.
when it grows up, it might be thicker shell, or it might have characteristics of the same as the parent, but most likely it's not going to be exactly the same. So you want it to, you have to change it over to the variety that you want.
Okay. And so a lot of times you have to graft because the variety that you want, you can kind of see on a tree. Like you said, that tree has a pecan that I like, so I'm gonna take this over here.
That's right.
Because it sounds like you can kind of get anything when you plant one.
That's right.
Now, why is that?
Well, because pecans don't come true to type. When you plant them, they'll be their own special characteristics that they have.
And so these seem like you have to kind of like monitor them a little heavily.
That's right. Like in the 1800s, he would take pollen, my great-great-grandfather would take pollen from certain trees and pollinate certain trees so he knew the cross. And that's the exact same thing the USDA still does today.
So, wow, so like literally stuff that we do now that's like pretty scientific, they were doing back in the 1800s.
Even before Google.
That is amazing. Okay, now this is a pretty big orchard here, and it's been around since the 1800s. So how in the world were they harvesting all of the pecans without that fancy equipment?
They did it all by hand.
What?
Prior to 1960, there was no pecan equipment, so they would climb up in the trees with cane poles and shake each cluster of pecans and then let it fall on the ground, and then they would pick them up by hand.
My word. Now how many people like would that take to do a harvest?
There were crews of hundreds.
I was about to say, you'd have to have a lot of people for an orchard this size.
Everybody in San Saba used to pick pecans.
Today, thanks to tractors and high-tech machinery, all of San Saba is no longer needed to pick the pecans by hand.
So Winston, can you walk me through what's going on over here?
Yeah, so this is a small pecan shaker.
Okay.
And it grabs onto the trunk, clamps down onto it, and it has offset weights that actually shake the pecans out of the tree.
Oh, wow, and then they just fall.
Right.
That's incredible. Now, I'm assuming that because these trees are younger, they're maybe not getting shaken as vigorously as some of the bigger guys.
That's right. This is our smallest shaker.
Okay.
And it'll shake up to a 34-inch tree. But we have one shaker that'll shake up to a 58-inch tree.
Oh my goodness, so based on the different size and the age, you have different equipment.
That's right. We have a much larger shaker that we use to harvest with.
So this is the baby shaker
This
for
is
the
the
baby tree.
baby shaker for baby trees.
Now what is this behind us?
Now this is a pecan harvester.
Okay, so that's a shaker and this is a harvester.
That's right. This is actually, think of it like as a golf ball picker-upper.
Oh, okay.
And so it's got rubber fingers that toss the pecans up onto a belt, and it uses a fan to blow out the light stuff.
Okay.
And it has a chain that carries sticks out, and the pecans fall through and puts them into the hopper.